Hey everyone, my name is Forrest Rivers, and welcome to Mystic Soul Revival. Today I come to you from beautiful and sunny Sedona, Arizona, and I'd like to read to you an excerpt from my book, Humanity's Spiritual Rebirth. And the excerpt is called The Power of Faith, something we all need a little bit more of. Faith is a beautiful thing. It could be compared to a budding flower, intuitively growing into its purpose to inspire and give life. Faith is the bedrock of hope, for without it, our moments of suffering would appear to be without meaning. On the spiritual path, we could probably all agree that compassion, positivity, humility, and a sincere desire to liberate ourselves from the illusion of separateness are each key qualities that any seeker on the path must cultivate within before coming to God. However, as a demonstration of its power, it is faith alone that sustains each of these qualities. For example, true compassion can only be said to arise when you arrive at the place within you, and I arrive at the place within me, that just intuitively knows that we are all connected in spirit as one. Once you and I know this, and I mean when we really feel it in our souls, how can we not have compassion for each other? After all, if we are all one, then that means that we are all soul brothers and soul sisters. Like compassion, faith also sustains the light of positivity. For what is positivity but a faithful mindset that life has both a deeper meaning and a higher purpose? Faith too sustains our capacity to respond to moments of personal suffering with greater humility, through guiding us to surrender to a power beyond ourselves. Finally, without the faith to sustain us, the numerous pitfalls on the spiritual path that we all encounter would simply be too much for all to bear, and we would give up at once our desire for liberation. But during life's difficult moments, when we find ourselves in the dark night of our soul, faith lights our path forward and helps us see that those very pitfalls we endure play a crucial role in our journey of awakening. There's a remarkable story about the power of faith that Ram Dass, a great spiritual teacher, relates to us in the pages of a beautiful book he wrote titled Paths to God, Living the Bhagavad Gita. This story was told to him by the great Indian holy man, Swami Muktananda. You're going to love this story. Krishna, at one stage of his incarnation as an avatar, was a beautiful young boy, something you'll need to know to understand this tale. Now, there was a great student of the Bhagavad Gita, an old man. He was so intent on studying the Gita, a great Hindu holy text, that he stopped doing all his work. He wouldn't do anything but read the Gita all day long. Soon he and his wife were without food. His wife was understandably very harsh with him, saying, "You have a duty to go out and bring food home for the family." She kept pressing him, making his life very difficult. But he'd just go off into the woods and study the Gita every day. One day, as he sat in the woods studying the Gita, the old man came across a line in the book in which Krishna said, "If you offer all your devotion to me, you need not worry about nothing in the world. It'll all be taken care of." And the old man thought, well, isn't that a peculiar line? I mean, here I am, totally devoted to the Gita, to Krishna, but my wife and I have not food, and she's all upset with me. It says right here that if I am devoted to the Gita, everything will be taken care of. Why isn't everything being taken care of? Could there possibly be something wrong with the Gita? At that point, the man took out his pen and drew a line through the sentence because he wasn't sure about it. Now, at that exact moment, back at his home, there was a knock at the door. The wife went to the door, and there stood a handsome young man with bags of rice and of lentils and of flour, huge bags, a supply to last for many months. The wife said, "Who are you? What is all this?" The young man said, "This is for the family of somebody who studies the Gita." As the young man started to carry the bags of food into the house, the wife noticed that his shirt was torn open and that there was a wound on his chest with blood oozing out of the wound. She said to him, "What happened? Who did this to you?" He said, "This was done to me by a man studying the Gita out in the woods." He said no more, put down the bags of food and left. When the husband came back home and saw all the food, he asked his wife about it. She said, "You know, the most peculiar thing happened." She proceeded to tell him about the young man's visit, and she said, "When I looked at him, I saw there was blood coming out of a wound on his chest. And when I asked him how it happened, he said it had been done by a man studying the Gita out in the woods." The old man realized what had happened, and he fainted, because he saw that when he had underlined the sentence of the book, out of his sense of doubt, he had wounded the body of Krishna. There is so much to unpack from this story, right, as it relates to the power of faith. The purity of the old man's devotion to Krishna summoned what we here in the West would call a miracle. Through the sudden deliverance of life-sustaining food by Krishna, disguised as the young man. But while the story profoundly captures the transcendent power of cultivating a faith in God, in the One with many names, it is also something of a cautionary tale for what happens when our faith flickers and doubt creeps in just for a moment. The bodily harm that the old man inflicted on Krishna through his momentary loss of faith symbolizes the harm that we cause to ourselves when we allow our thinking minds to circumvent what we know to be truth within. If you like what you heard today, you can click on the subscribe button below. So much peace to everybody.